Years ago, I watched my mother lose her job after developing carpal tunnel from repetitive data entry work. She had surgery and she was later let go from her job. And that moment really stuck with me. I remember thinking there has to be a better way. And that's what inspired me to create Connects, a tool that automates e-commerce operations and helps businesses eliminate the kind of tedious, manual work that burns people out. That's why I'm so excited about today's guest. Carrington Crothers is an expert in product photography and Amazon listing optimization. Through her work, she's helped brands transform ordinary product pages into high-converting storefronts by combining stunning visuals with strategic keyword placement. Her specialty is in helping sellers stand out in crowded marketplaces and maximize ROI through better imagery, storytelling, and conversion-driven listing strategies. In today's episode, we'll talk about why great product photography is more than just aesthetics. It's about conversion. How to make Amazon listing rank higher and sell better, common mistakes sellers make with images and copy, and the future of e-commerce visuals, including AI and lifestyle branding. If you've ever struggled with low conversion rates, poor click-throughs, or feeling invisible on Amazon, this conversation will give you the clarity and actionable next steps. Let's go into our first question. How did you get involved in product photography and listing optimization?
Yeah, so I was not the person who loved photography as a kid. I actually fell into it by accident when I was in college. And
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those situations where I had to take a photography course. I did not like it. I just wanted to pass. And another one of
Mm-hmm.
my instructors really loved photography, and he spent about an hour with me just teaching me the basics. I got hooked. And I ended up going back to school for 2 more years to get a degree in professional photography where I started focusing on advertising. So I was really getting into understanding like the brand aspect with products and different areas of like the advertising world. And eventually that led me into getting really into the weeds with brands who are just selling on Shopify and Amazon, and how does your imagery really impact what you're doing and what your sales are looking like, and how are you converting and connecting with your customers.
Right, and based on the way the product looks on Amazon, the photos, that decides whether someone is going to convert. And speaking of those photographs, what role do high quality product photos really play in boosting conversions on Amazon? Is the photo really making a difference?
It does actually make a really big difference. So when you switch, maybe you're starting out in a DIY standpoint where you're doing it yourself, and then you're switching over to working with a professional, it starts to build trust and credibility with your customers, because brands and founders are often pouring so much love into their product, their packaging, their branding. And then when it comes to photography, they don't always put as much effort in it until they start seeing, hey, maybe this is something that we need to really focus on. And then when you start getting into the professional photography, it starts to set you apart because you're also showing that you care about how you're being perceived. So it goes further than just saying, hey, it's a photo, but it's saying, hey, we also care about how we look and how we're going to be portraying ourselves to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. You want to make sure that this is how we look and this is part of our brand, and the photography should be part of the branding. So beyond basic keywords, what elements make a product listing truly stand out?
Yeah, so I like to explain to brands that I call it, for me, the EIS method. And that stands for educate, inspire, and sell. If your imagery is not educating and inspiring your customers, you're not going to make as many sales. You're not going to convert. Your add to cart value is going to go down. But if we take a look at what is it that is important about your product, what are you trying to convey? And let's figure out, how do we show that visually so we can educate the consumer, let them know what is important about this product, and then get them excited about that so they're inspired to say, hey, this is the product that I need to change my life. This is what I've been looking for. I want to give this a shot to help fix X, Y, or Z problem in my life. Get them excited and inspired. If you can hit the educate and the inspire portion behind your imagery, you're going to help convert more. And keywords are great to help people find the actual listing, but then it's, how do you convert from there once they find you?
And what about videos? Do you work anything with videos, or what are your thoughts having videos and product listings?
Yeah, so when it comes to video, I think it's important. And I think that there's a specific location for where your photo is going to show off the strongest and where's video going to show off the strongest. If you go on to Amazon and you start scrolling, you're only seeing imagery. In order to see a video, you have to go into the listing page, and the video is usually going to be like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th on the carousel as you're scrolling through. It's always going to be those static photos in the beginning. So when we're using video, that's a lot more prevalent when we're talking about like different types of ads or social media, where your static carousels, your photos are really that main driver in the very beginning.
And it sounds like the photos of the main driver and the videos are kind of secondary. And speaking of the photographs, what are the most common photography mistakes that you see sellers making? Are the photos maybe they blurry, they're not high quality, for example?
Yeah, so a lot of times either like the product is not the main focus because you have too many props in there. Out of focused imagery, honestly, just not high quality, so it kind of degrades what your product is. And I always tell people, you want to have a luxury brand, you want to be in this market. We need to show you in that market. So making sure that all of that effort you put into building a brand, if you're an online business, you have to get the product in somebody's hand in order for them to really feel that product and experience it. So you need to show that off early before they actually hit add to cart, because the process is kind of backwards, right? It's not like you walk into the store and you see this really fuzzy blanket and you're like, ooh, I have to touch it. You got to be able to show it off to get them to get it shipped to them to be able to touch it. So how do you kind of shift that mindset behind what people...
And exactly with the photographs, if your photo feels, people can't feel it in their hands and they need the photograph as the next best thing.
Yep.
So how can sellers use lifestyle photos versus plain white background shots effectively?
Yeah, so both are very important and they each have their own area where they're going to thrive. A lot of brands will tell me, we just want the lifestyle imagery because that's what's pretty and it's fun and getting people engaged. But that's not always all you need, right? So let's go back to that Amazon example when I'm saying how before, when you're scrolling, you're not seeing video, you see a static photo. When you're on Amazon, they require your first photo to always be on white. And that's providing consistency across every single seller on Amazon. So doesn't matter who you are or what you're selling, Amazon has a level of consistency that you need to abide by. And that's always going to be your first photo. Lifestyle will come secondary as people start to scroll through. So when we're thinking about how are you selling on Amazon, the cadence of your product carousel is really important. I usually will recommend to brands to have like a core 7 pictures. The first 3 would be your e-commerce on white, because that's really where you can like show off the product, the packaging, and like your nutrition facts if it's like a food product or specific detail imagery, something that you want to show like texture to, or like scale if you wanted to have a hand, close-ups, stuff like that. Then comes the lifestyle. That goes back to like that inspire portion I talked about before, where that's going to start showing people, I'm fitting the demographic for this product. This is the lifestyle I'm living. This is why I need it. This is how it's going to fix X problem that I have. So you're still kind of going in that same order that I talked about earlier, where you want to educate and then you want to inspire. Your imagery on white is really that educational, and then the lifestyle is that inspire.
Like when I went to college, there were lifestyle pictures of people under trees, smiling, having fun, reading books, and I get it. Whereas black and white's like, yeah, here's a copy of a history textbook. Like it's not as like inspirational. There's no energy behind it. So what's your process for balancing SEO, keywords, titles, bullet points with compelling storytelling?
For sure. One of the things that's funny is people don't always think about how your words that you're showing that people will read are going to convey in an image. If you went to a website and they had a really dark and moody photo, but then the copy on top of it says, let's party. Well, now those aren't talking to each other. They are giving you totally different messages. So taking what is that copy, the messaging, your titles, and saying, how do we convey that visually is something that people should be slowing down and thinking more about. When we're on Amazon and you're looking at a listing, all their description copy is going to be on the right-hand side. Go through that and take a look at what are the key points that are in here that we are bolding, bulleting, and calling out, and how are we going to take that and show it visually? Because if people don't read anything that's on your Amazon page, if they're just being lazy and they're just scrolling through quick, they're still going to see that photo, even if they're not reading all the text. So making sure that the copy and your imagery is aligned is something that people need to really slow down and think about. It's not something that happens instantly, but it is something that you can create and tell a story around.
And you use these pictures to tell a story. Like when I was in college and I had the people having fun reading books, like that's going to be used. And that's so you use the pictures to connect with people. So I get that. And you use the pictures to call out the keywords and titles. Like, so I understand what you're saying. So if a seller has a limited budget, should they prioritize better photography, enhanced brand content, or PPC ads first?
So it can kind of depend on from a brand to brand perspective. So I don't usually recommend brands start off with the PPC ads or pay-per-click ads. That can run you a lot of money really quickly when maybe you don't have, if you haven't tested your market yet. So I would usually say, hey, if you're going to be sending, if your ads are going to send somebody where your imagery is going to be seen, like if it's sending to your Amazon page, you want to make sure your imagery is going to be the strongest it can be from that location, right? So A/B testing ads is definitely a really good way to go, but also making sure the location that you're sending them to is looking its absolute best. So I guess from your question, I would say prioritizing better photography is going to be important overall, but making sure it's where the end consumer is going to see it to purchase it.
And if it And so, how would you measure the ROI of professional photography or listing optimization? With PPC, it's pretty simple. You have a dashboard and you can say you spent $10 on ads and you made $100 in sales. But what about professional photography? Is there any sort of analytics tool you can use?
There are different ones. I've used them before, mostly on Shopify sites, less a little bit on Amazon. But when we go through, usually when I'm working with brands, we're doing like a full overhaul of their Amazon imagery. So usually it's within a few months, brands will start to see an increase in traffic. So it's a conversation, it's figuring out, all right, what is working, what is resonating with people. And I always tell brands, have an open dialogue with your customer. Figure out, ask them, why did you buy from us in the first place? Because wouldn't that be just fun to know? Be like, where did you see us? What drew you to us? And really just getting information like that is important, but also A/B testing. So if you're A/B testing maybe the hero picture on your Amazon page or your Shopify site, you can start tracking. Okay, hey, more people bought on listing A than listing B. And you can see which images are really resonating better with your consumers.
So you can A/B test the picture, so I can have one list, so I can have two Amazon listings somehow with the
Less
pictures.
likely on Amazon, more so if you're selling on other marketplaces. But it's still a good way to figure out, hey, what resonates with our end consumers.
Okay. And what trends do you see shaping the future of product imagery, AI, video, 360 spins, or influencer style branding?
All of that is going to start shaping the future in different ways. AI is already starting. It's not quite there yet, especially on the product stance, and it's not there for creating text, which obviously your labels will have text on them. So there's areas that it is just not there yet. But from like a video standpoint, we already are seeing the impacts of video, especially on social media. But influencer style, that is something that right now it is very popular. Are we going to continue seeing that influx increase? Is it going to die down? I'm not entirely sure how that's going to go. Right now, I think it's going to continue increasing. For how long or forever, I can't necessarily say, but I do think there is a place for that style of imagery versus the professional. I think if you know where your best use case is, using that influencer style, especially on like social media stories or quick ads, that can be really beneficial. Where that long-term content, you're going to want to invest a little bit more.
And it sounds like with the AI, it's more of like low quality imagery, whereas the professional is more serious. And I'm sure the professional photos have a greater return on investment. The AI is maybe for a testing or some sort of startup, it sounds like.
Exactly.
And if you could give the Amazon sellers one piece of advice to improve their listings overnight, what would it be?
Overnight, I would say take some time and slow down. Read all the copy that is on your listing that I was saying earlier. Go through your descriptions and pull out 3 main points that you are saying, these are the top 3 reasons somebody should buy our product. And then look at it and say, how do I show those 3 concepts visually? And add that into your carousel. Because if somebody, like I said earlier, if somebody doesn't read, make sure you're showing that visually. And if you can pull out those top 3 reasons, it's going to help people get a better understanding on why they should be purchasing in the first place, rather than, hey, let me go find another product, hit the back button, and continue scrolling.
Okay. These are definitely some great pieces of advice. A colleague of mine actually works in communications, and he mentioned on your site have more visuals because people tend not to read, and you're saying the same thing about Amazon is have more pictures, less text. So that would be end of my questions for today. Carrington, I want to thank you very much for being on the show and sharing some really practical, insightful tips, including using professional photography to boost your Amazon sales, using more images in your listing instead of text because people often don't like to read, using the pictures in the Amazon listing to highlight the keywords, titles, and the bullet points, and using high-quality professional photos instead of blurry pictures, using lifestyle photos of people having fun using the product instead of a white background in your photo. I mean, those are fine for educational, so I think you add some great points. If you're thinking about upgrading your product photography or optimizing your Amazon listings for higher conversions, check out Carrington's work at prospectstreetstudio.com. And if you want to ditch manual data entry and automate your e-commerce operations, head over to connexecommerce.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode. Thank you, Carrington.
Thank you very much.